I'm looking for...
Mr. Wake. Alan Wake. Oh, God! I am your biggest fan.
It was a normal day, May 14th, 2010. After having made a name for themselves with games such as the Max Payne series, Remedy Entertainment decided to make a new survival horror entry the world had never seen before. Whether it rises into triumph or just sinks into the abyss is yet to be seen, so this is the story and my review of Alan Wake.
Books. I got the cutout from the bookstore when they took it out of the window.
Carl couldn't make it. Unfortunately, he was taken ill. But I have the key for you and instructions on how to get to the lake.
The game was primarily a third-person shooter, utilizing a fairly unique system wherein the enemies are protected by a shield of darkness. This of course necessitates the use of a limited battery flashlight to rip it away and make them vulnerable. With their darkness giving way to the light, Alan proved able to use a variety of firearms to finish them off once and for all. His weapons would include a pistol, shotgun, and hunting rifle. Alan's arsenal is also supplemented by flashbang grenades to instantly kill Taken, a flare gun to achieve a similar effect at long distance as well as to drive off crows, and a thrown flare to ward them off and weaken their shields of darkness. Alan's flashlight had the ability to slowly recoup its power, but could also be immediately restored by sacrificing some of Alan's own batteries. He also proved capable of switching out the flashlight for a heavy-duty flashlight or a lantern, sacrificing battery life for increased light bulb strength. Alan's own health likewise regenerated at a slow rate, so long as he wasn't taking damage. Shafts of light would also prove to be an absolute godsend, as they would completely restore his health as well as save his progress and make any pursuing enemies disappear. It was almost as if waking up after a bad nightmare. Taken would largely rush him, either with bare hands or with various weapons. Occasionally he would have to fight specific types of Taken, as well as flocks of crows that would have to be driven off by light, lest they pick Alan apart. When he wasn't fighting for his life, Alan was solving various puzzles such as setting up platforms to jump across. There were also vehicular sections which Alan thought really helped to break up the repetition. He would use the brute force and lights of the truck to roll through the Taken as if they were just sickening fleas. The game would also feature collectibles in the form of manuscripts to read up on upcoming events, although some of them could be deceptive. He could also find coffee thermos, though not really useful for anything other than to be a collectivist, but he thought they really proved interesting enough to find. Ultimately, Alan Wake found the gameplay of his journey to be a fairly enjoyable and fairly linear experience. Alan thought to himself that the mechanic of causing the Taken to become vulnerable in the form of light proved to be quite unique, as well as adding an extra layer of challenge. Alan Wake couldn't help but be reminded of Resident Evil 4 with its engaging third-person survival horror, which this game shares in an equal sense.
What do they put in this stuff? I feel like my brain is coming out of my nose.
The plot, as one may expect, was centered around the man simply known as Alan Wake. After having started out with a hook consisting of Alan fleeing the darkness into the promising warmth of a lighthouse, the story started from the very beginning. It all started when Alan Wake and his wife Alice decided to travel to Bright Falls on vacation. After a quick stop in a diner, they proceeded to a cabin in the middle of the lake. Alice had other plans for Alan, for him to see a psychologist and overcome his writer's block, infuriating Alan in the process. However, as he stormed out, he soon realized that Alice was in danger. He was too late as some malevolent force drags her into the lake and Alan jumps in after her, blacking out. What happens next is a complete blur because Alan has no memories of what happened between then and now, and with the help of Barry and others sets out to try to piece things together and hope to save Alice. Without making any major spoilers, the plot really did catch Alan off guard a number of times. A lot of the time, he couldn't tell what was the real world and what was just pure fantasy. At one point, he found himself with a psychologist, and it looks like he's trying to convince him that it was just a bad dream before predictably all goes wrong. He also sometimes catches a glimpse of himself talking on a television screen at times, lost memories as to what was going on while he was blacked out. When Alan finally does close in on Alice, reality itself even seems to break down, and he has to do something very impulsive in an attempt to save her. Alan believes that this is a plot that you should experience for yourself rather than being spoiled over a review. He thinks you should try playing it for yourself, or if you want an alternative, he knows a guy named V-Gaming Junkie who has an entire Let's Play of the game on his YouTube channel. Alan rather enjoyed his little story and found it to have plenty of twists and turns. It is easily the highlight that will keep you coming back, or at least it did for him.
Something special about this place. The lake, it does something to the works of art created here. It makes them come true. But there's a catch. The dark presence, whatever that thing is, twists it to its own ends. That's why all of this is happening. It's using my manuscript to take over everything.
Alan Wake manages to subvert the expected trope of the time of real is brown by being quite vibrant, or at least when the sun is out. During the night, it's expectedly a dark blue tone with the contrast of light that really helped to break it up, in Alan's opinion. Alan thought to himself how it should be expected that in a game about shadows and lights it has a nice lighting system for its time with the expected fully dynamic shadow system. He felt the environments are varied enough that it won't feel too repetitive, and the character models, both main and enemy, are well enough put together. At one point, Alan is even on a rock stage fending off Taken, with Barry trying to fix the lights as hard rock music is blazing in the background. Alan easily found this to be the highlight of his little journey. It was truly a cool moment to him. Alan found the game's voice acting to be especially well made, and even enjoyed Barry adding a much needed lighthearted tone to the otherwise very bleak plot.
What's with the cutout?
I stole it from the diner to piss off Rose after what she did to us. That'll teach her.
Alan noticed that some of the Taken carry existing characteristics and would spout quips of their former humanity, such as a lumber company worker quipping about his company's products.
Even with the engine takes
Alan feels that the audio cue of a Taken being stripped of their darkness barrier is particularly nice, and the game makes good strategic use of music. It even includes an exclusive song by the band Old Gods of Asgard that instruct Alan how to proceed in the game. Even when there isn't music, Alan noticed very effective use of ambient noises. It really went far to make Alan feel as though he's actually there in that environment. One interesting thing to note is that he can find episodes of a show called Night Springs in some televisions throughout the game, an obvious homage to the classical television series The Twilight Zone. It's even fittingly in black and white. Near the end of the game, reality begins to break apart and the game does its best to screw with Alan, with things in the environment becoming symbolically glitched. All in all, Alan feels that the game's presentation stands as another major highlight in his adventure. He feels it's got good voice acting, a very solid visual aesthetic, and fitting music and sound effects.
Al, please tell me we're headed for the nearest "You're now leaving Bright Falls. Come back soon" sign.
Alan feels that the game as a whole was quite good as a survival horror narrative. While he noticed it as a very linear story, it manages to remain compelling and even challenging enough for him to want to push forward just to see how it all ends. Alan, as well as V-Gaming Junkie, would recommend it for fans of horror or simply fans of an interesting little tale reminiscent of The Twilight Zone. This has been my review for Alan Wake. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time.